you doing, TM fam? You heard in the open of the show, we're asking the question, how do you raise a resilient child? It's a question that has a bazillion answers to it. This hour is inspired by the new book. It's called Raising Resilience. The expert behind this, she's known as the toddler whisperer. She's based in New York. Her research about kids of all ages and answering or help us answer this question about resilience, right? So it's something that's obviously I think about a lot. This weekend, we took Moses to his first New York Liberty game. Big moment, big moment. There we were at the game. It was like my child was on the Jumbotron, and I'm like, oh gosh, is he gonna act up? You know, loud noise. I gave him the popcorn. I was like, just keep eating the popcorn. Because those are unpredictable situations. You know, we have the cookbook out. I've been on tour. We were in Chicago at our ABC 7 station. I'm gonna be, I'm in so many places, I don't even know where I am. I'm like LA, Atlanta on Friday. How is all of this, shout out Atlanta, but how is this gonna affect my child? Does that create separation anxiety when your mom is working or your dad is working and then they come in and they go, I'll be right back, like an usher in church. That's how I feel some days. How does that impact my child? We have top experts here today weighing in on everything from the new cell phone bans. Folks are saying no cell phones at all, that it's creating anxious teenagers. I saw you clapping there. I'm torn about it because if you see me at a restaurant and you see an iPad at the table, that wasn't me. But we're starting out with our first guest whose new research inspired this show. Dr. Tovah Klein entered my life when Moses was just turning 2 years old. She is a leading expert in child psychology and the director of the Barnard College Toddler Center. Her life's work has been understanding the world of toddlers and children. Tovah's first book was called How Toddlers Thrive, was a huge bestseller. Now she is raising the bar with her new book. It's called Raising Resilience. It's not just about toddlers. In it, she explores how parents can confidently build strong relationships with their children and raise them to be motivated, self-assured, and kind. Please welcome Dr. Tovah Klein to our show. We've known each other a long time. I would be remiss without bringing up the fact that the subtitle of your book is How to Help Our Children Thrive in Times of Uncertainty. You have a 26-year-old, 23-year-old, and a 20-year-old. That means two of your children know what 9/11 is because they were born at the time. Today is 9/11.
Yeah.
Uncertain times are all around us. 23 years ago, the world stopped. And I watched before I came down this little boy talk about the grandfather he never met. And there he was, to me, a picture of resilience. Yeah. Give us perspective, because there are life grenades like that, like COVID, which is when you wrote this book.
Yeah. But my work started on 9/11.
Yeah.
I did a study of young children after 9/11 who had witnessed it, because I wanted to know what was going to give them strength. Wow. Yeah.
And so here you are, fast forward, as I said, I try to be honest with you all. The first conversation we had, name drop, Robert De Niro said, your kid has to go to the toddler center. Yes, that Robert De Niro. And I said, what is this? It's an innovative program where they start looking at 2-year-olds and studying 2-year-olds and what we can learn from their patterns and their behaviors. That was at the pandemic. Yeah. I called you. I said, my child might be starting your school. You said, well, you know, kids are resilient, more so than we could ever imagine. How could you be so confident at a time where something was happening that we'd never seen before?
Yeah. Well, because if there's one thing in life we know, there's always uncertainty.
Yeah.
And that's where this whole book comes from, because I've been doing this work for so many years. And whether it's a day-to-day, the bus was late today for your child, right?
Yeah.
Uncertainty. Your 15-year-old comes home, the math test wasn't what they thought it was. Uncertainty. The pandemic, 9/11. There's always uncertainty, but children get stronger from it.
How do you define resilient? What is it? What's the definition of a resilient child? Is it the kid that bounces back from adversity? Is it the kid that I don't know how to define it myself?
Yeah. I define it as being able to adjust, right? Adapt, move on, be flexible, all those things that are hard for children, but as a parent, you're helping him learn every single day. That's resilience, and that's what allows you to bounce back. It's not an instant process.
Are some children born more resilient than others?
It's a great question. Probably there are personality factors that make some children a little more adaptable, a little more flexible, but the rest of it we nurture.
So you talk a lot about transitions, teaching kids to go from one thing to the next. That's something that we've talked about a lot because my son would hold on to me, as you've seen, like the color purple at the end, when they're like, ceiling, Natty! And that Tovah and her team are literally pulling me, and I'm, get in, this elevator. Learning to transition, that is something not just for a 2-year-old, that's all through life, and that's a part of resilience.
Yes, because learning, where we sit right now is where we are, but getting to that next step always has some uncertainty, even if it's just entering a new room or coming on your show or going into grandma's house. Every step forward is a change, and change is hard for everybody.
Do you think we as adults process it enough in our children? Because I try to tell myself all the time, this is a new day for this kid. He's never seen this. I might have driven by that store 1,000 times, but for a child's young eyes, they literally walk through the world wide-eyed.
Yeah, that's the beauty of children.
But we seem to sometimes not give them grace. I feel like sometimes the education system doesn't give them grace. I think sometimes as parents, we feel pressured to urgently move them along. So they don't get the tools to build a resilient core.
Right. But if you have routines every day, and a good school has routines every day, that's what helps them move through the day and learn, oh, I can get from point A to point B, and I'm not alone in it. It's the not being alone that builds resilience. That's what you're giving Moses. That's what every parent is giving their child. You don't have to be alone in this. I'm here for you.
Well, that's what you talk about, like a real world example that I know you spoke with the team about is like going back to work. A lot of kids had summer breaks. They had way too much access to you. Wink, wink. And you might have spent, a couple of more hours with grandma, and now suddenly you don't get to hang out with grandma. You don't get to hang out with friends, mom and dad, and now you've got to go to school. And you talk about that structure, that kids need structure to have resilience.
Yeah. You need both. You need a number of things. You need love and care and warmth, right? However a parent shows it. But you also need some limits and structure that says, we've got this.
You're about to get a clap on that.
Here's how you move through the day.
Because, Tovah, and we're going to go to commercial break, but the words limits and structure have become frowned upon.
No.
Right.
But I say they're yes.
Yeah.
Children need that. They need us to be in charge.